dive in?
I think we're good. I'll let people in as they come, but I think this is the bulk of us.
Love it. So database turnover and conversion rates through marketing, 36 touch, etc. So kind of broad, kind of narrow topic, but basically all things database conversion. I see a couple of you on here who I know this is like your one thing right now. So this should be good. So let's just maybe, and don't feel shy, like there's no wrong percentage, but maybe let's just start with like, is there anyone on this call beating 10% turnover rate on your database? Anyone beating it yet? I should say. Anyone beating 8% turnover rate on your database? 5%?
I mean, I think, what are we, like 8% maybe? 7% so far?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I think you were roughly between 7 and 8%.
Yeah, I mean, year to date, like, or at the end of the year, our goal is to be a 10-to-1. So we're slowly getting there.
Okay, and anybody have like no idea and you're here for the ride, but you're not actually sure where you're converting yet? It's fair. Okay, don't even stress about it. Good. So just to kind of give a little bit of a background, Zach, do you want to like maybe talk about MREA statistics and why I, asked about that at all in general?
Yeah, well, I think one, to clarify what is your database specifically, right? And what are we looking at? And MREA would tell us is really looking at two parts. Your haven't met database, so those people who we don't have a relationship with, and then the met database, which are those that we have a relationship with, right? Typically that would be past clients, sphere of influence, right? Those groups that we're influencing, vendor referral partners, all of those, family, friends would be part of your sphere of influence, but in case you didn't think they were, add them in there as well, right? So when you look at that, that's typically the MET database, which is where we have the strongest relationships and where we could really focus in and add the value, which is why we talk so much about the client events and how we communicate with those. So according to those stats, when you look into it, right, haven't met database is looking at 50-to-1. I would say that's probably increased because of the age of Facebook and social media leads coming in. The conversion rate varies, right? And then you would look at the MET database, which is a 12-to-2, right? So for every 12 in there, we would expect one repeat business and one referral for those folks in your MET database. Now, with that being said, overall with your database, combining the two and looking at it, what Megan is describing is then going through and saying, okay, so just 10% for your database, who is converting at that rate? Thoughts?
That's something I wanted to just drop a link for y'all. That's 150 ways to grow your database. So if you're like, how do you get your database grown? Just dropped you a link.
Yeah, this is such a great topic, and I love the conversation around this because the position and role we hear a lot is we want to hire for marketing, and we'll hear that thrown around, and people will go in. And my question is always, and I would love to hear from the group, right? But how do you measure that if we're not tracking the database?
Milu.
Anything you would add, Megan?
No, I think that's a great base. It's just like what is the database? Why do we think about turnover? And then of course, maybe I would just add, why does this even matter? And when you think about how much you spend per lead source, the database is often one of your lowest spends, right? If we're looking at ROI, it's one of our highest ROI, one of our lowest lead gen expenses on the P&L. So maximizing this keeps that P&L, those expenses in line, and also gives us that high ROI we're looking for. So let's talk. How do you improve no matter where you are? If you're at like a 0.5% turnover or you're at 8% turnover, how do you improve database turnover and get more repeat referral business from the people that you know? Let's start there.
And I think let's go to what are you doing even, because then we can talk about how later and maybe some things that we may not be doing, but I'd love to know what people are actually doing.
I have a dumb question, but I'm going to say it out loud because maybe I'm not the only one with it in my head. How do you know I know how many transactions we have in a year versus the quantity of people in the database, but I don't know that I can like check on that number regularly. Like maybe I'd have a window of time I check after a year. So what anybody thinks about that? Did you catch me? My phone was ringing and I'm sorry. I don't know if my whole question was.
Okay. We heard the question. Yeah, you're good. You're good. So her question is, like, if I may paraphrase, is, what time frame are you measuring so that you actually get this number? Are you like waiting for 12 months of data? Are you measuring month by month? Like, how do you, like, what time frame should this exist within? Did I catch it, Caroline?
Yes. And what am I measuring? Like transactions closed versus quantity of contacts? What is the ratio comparing?
Great question. So the actual ratio is just going to be, like, if you think about, your old algebra math, it's like, okay, how many people transacted that were in my MET database or came from my MET database? Because maybe they're a referral from a MET. So if you've got a source tag on those, you'll just pull that number. So what's the actual number of people who transacted from or referred by my database? And then you're going to measure that against the total people in your MET database. So number of transaction is what % of total. That's the equation you're solving, which means you'll take the smaller number, the number of transactions, and divide it by the bigger number, the number of total METs in your database. Now, if you want to measure against the MREA, that 16.667% that the MREA says is an average return, then that would be in a year, but we don't have to wait a year to measure. So you can measure any time frame that you want.
Yeah, and really, as we're playing red light, green light with our P&L and going through and looking at that, right, we should be reflecting the big category of lead generation and what's contributing to that expense, right? Are we getting an ROI from that particular category?
So how many of you look at your ROI at the end of the year and say, hey, 70% of our business came from our database? And then maybe 3% came from Zillow and et cetera. How many of you can look at that pie and know how much business came from each of those sources?
When I looked at mine, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago, I was really mad because I realized that 80% of our closings came from our database and 20% of the lead gen budget was for our database. We were legit 80-20, and I'm like, this couldn't be more obvious. I need to stop spending on lead generation. And that worked for about 6 months. And I was like, oh, we need more leads. And so I tricked myself back into it. And I'm trying to convince myself back into just spending money on the database, because that is where our big returns are.
Cameron, you just nailed exactly why we look at these numbers.
So Cameron, your plan would be more to add to the database if you're going to continue to market to it. You'd have a plan in place to continue to add to it as a meta.
Yeah, and even like this week, one of the things that we did is we cut some of our Google AdWords budget, and we're going to do a giveaway, and that we actually like call our database about the giveaway. And so it's going to be something big, like, I don't know, $1,000. Like we can do a huge giveaway for $1,000. And so I can call everyone in my SOI and be like, hey, I want you to go enter this contest, however that is, and change it up every month. And so not only can we call for the events, but now we can call for these giveaways. Thanks, Hannah. That's your idea, by the way.
And have sponsors pay for your thing, so it's not like $1,000 out of your pocket. Have your sponsors, and they will be glad. Just put their branding on it, like say thank you.
Hannah, yeah, this is a great topic. Tell us how you did this last month, and you got, for every 2.5 conversations your team had, you got 1 referral? What'd you do?
So we did a big green egg giveaway for St. Patrick's Day. Thanks to our cyberbacker, Erica came up with it, helped come up with it. And I need to grow on our followers on Facebook and on Instagram, but then also how could we do a reverse bold 100 and get contacts out of this and not just people through social media and growing that platform too. So yeah, I just did a campaign, mainly all emails and text messages, sharing weeks ahead of time before the giveaway, blasting it through social media. So it wasn't just our Mets and our database people, it was a complete public event. So we reached a whole lot more people than just our current database.
So can I pause you for a minute?
Yeah.
Because I want everybody to have time to digest and take the points that we're saying. So recap, get your pens out, right? She had a strategy. What did she want to accomplish with the reverse 100? It wasn't just we need some leads, throw together reverse 100, let's give away green egg, back up. We'll do it Friday. It was weeks in advance. They knew what they had an intention around what they wanted. Her intention included engagement on social media. So they opened it up to the public. So it wasn't even just her database because her strategy matched her intention to get more social engagement. So write down number one, have an intention, set your intention for the outcome you're looking for. What's my goal? Is it filling out contact information? Is it getting a referral? Is it social media engagement? Is it all of those things? And then how many? How many social engagements do I want? How many follows am I looking for? And then write your strategy leading up to it to match that thing. This isn't something you plan on Monday and you do on Friday. Okay, pick back up, go.
Can I ask a question too, or?
Yeah.
So we just did one. We just had one yesterday as well. We did a big giveaway for a $500 fire pit bundle package. We had lender and a home inspector sponsor it, so we didn't have to really pay for much of it. It was an open to the public thing. I feel like I followed everything to the book of what I was supposed to do, and we had 25 people call, and it was pretty much everyone already from our database. We did get 4 referrals, so I was really happy about that we were able to get referrals. But I'm just curious, how do we get other people to call in? Because I made a public Facebook event. I boosted it. It was everywhere for a month before we planned. It was tag a friend below for 2 extra entries, or referrals 5 extra entries. I did email blasts weekly on it. I did, I feel like we did everything, but then I posted it to networking groups for our town, in our area and stuff. I posted it there to be other people call in. But I was just I've heard other people be we had 80 people call, we had 100 people call. And I was we had 25 people and they were all people from our database already. So I don't know how, what would you have done differently, I guess?
So I think next time going differently, and there was 5 chances to get entered, or 5 chances, to have your name in the drawing. First one, call. Or if you didn't want to call, my brother and sister didn't call, but they shared it on Facebook, they tagged 3 friends, and they followed both of our pages. So that got 3 entries. But when you called and gave a referral, as we went through our questions, I just made on Google Forms.
That's what we did too, yeah.
Yeah, super easy. I, asked all contact information, birthday, and then we went into referral. Okay, secretly, this is, a surprise. Since you called in, you have your 5th chance to enter, or the 2nd chance to enter, since you've already made it through these questions. Who can we help in real estate this year or in the future? And then we threw out, coworkers, friends, family, anybody that's just got engaged, having babies, and that kind of helps spark interest. And it's well, if you don't think of anybody by tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for that 5th entry, you've got until tomorrow night, until 6 p.m. to get that in. So St. Patrick's Day was on Wednesday. We did a call session from 11 to 3 o'clock.
That was our times too, 11 to 3.
Yeah, and we had a ton of calls from 10:30 to noon. The first hour and a half was jam packed. I mean, like I had 7 calls, like just sitting waiting. I was like stressed out at the max. But next time going forward, I think we'll just do like only calls, you know, a reverse bold 100 and keep it at that, or do, you know, just go straight for growing social media and do shares, you know, tag 3 friends and follow us. My sister, she was like, this is a little bit too complicated. I was overwhelmed because there's so many directions. Yet it's very bullet pointed and straight to the point. Just having like one intention. Okay, I'm going to grow social media and grow it this way. And then the next giveaway on the next holiday, we're going to do a Mother's Day basket for Mother's Day and have our sponsors all give a $200 credit of some sort, a gift card to Spal's, dinner, hotel, something, and ask. So $1,000 total basket, and have probably grow social media and tag, you know, 3 women figures, you know, that even if you're a dog mom, I don't care, tag them, you know, so, and to grow social media that way.
So maybe narrowing like the focus and saying you have to call to get entered to win.
Yes.
But additional entries would come from X, Y, or Z.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we did for ours. I'm just so curious why we didn't have, you know, more people calling. I mean, I guess it just could have been luck of the draw. I don't know.
So
Yeah.
ours depended on, like, thank God it rained that day and it was a jury day. Cause like, okay, St. Patrick's Day, the world's slowly opening up. Like people are going to be at the bars. But like, it was a terrible weather that day and really cold and rainy and stormy. And I think that had half the reason why we got 56 calls in, and people wanted to talk. And we've listed now a few homes from those calls. So, and appointments are working out.
Awesome story. I think too, just from other, I have a lot of clients who do the reverse 100. I think when you open it up to the public, like when your target is the public, you match more of that 50 to 1. Like for every 50 people who see it, you'll get 1 call. But like when you target your database, you get more of that 12 to 2. Like you'll see a way higher conversion, like in call-ins from your database. So I think it's just like something to keep in mind. Like you might have a smaller number when you're targeting the public, and that might be okay. In other words, like, did you get the engagements you were looking for? Did you get the follows you were looking for? Like you're almost like pre-setting up them coming into your 36 touch by like getting them into your world. And you might have higher engagement with that group of people the next round, because now they're like familiar, like they're getting, you know. So I think if you got 25 calls and set, what'd you say, like 5 appointments, like that's
4 referrals.
That's not a bad rate. You know what I mean?
So-
It's not volume that you were looking for, but it might just be kind of that 50 to 1 because you were targeting your non-database situation.
And you got to look at it too. So did any of those referrals close?
We just had it yesterday, so you know.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we just had the call-in event yesterday, so you know we haven't even. My agents are still having to reach out to all these referral, you know, the 4 referrals now. So, I mean, if one of them at least closes, then it was worth it for us because we didn't, you know, have to spend that much money.
Yeah,
And then
how many times have you done this reverse bold? Hannah.
Oh, me? This is our first time. I
Okay.
just threw it together. Yeah, this is
It
my
was
first
my
time.
first one too. Yeah.
Don't say words like that. You did not just throw it together. You had weeks of planning and preparation. Like, don't say yourself. Now take us to the next step, because you talked to us about intention. Like you set the intention, you got the funding, you picked the thing. Like then what did you do?
So then anybody that called in, I gave them a thank you card. And if they sent
Wait, time out. I feel like you've skipped some steps, and everybody here is dying to know how you got a 2.5 to 1 outcome response rate. So how did your agents prepare? How did people answering the phone prepare? How did you pick the time to call? Like, what did you do to prepare for the phone call?
So I stole somebody's other playbook from, I think it was our maps, just our small group of like 100 of us. I looked at their playbook and then also went into Command and looked at the other playbook smart plans that somebody else had built, tweaked it to see how their rollout was, changed a few of the wordings, branded it to us, and did multiple emails throughout the week. So we do a newsletter to our database or to all Mets every other Thursday. And I would then they got an invite to about the green egg every single Thursday or Friday, like just for the weeks leading up to it, you know, happy St. Patrick's Day, we're giving away a green egg, just kind of all the things, and blasting it on Facebook. And then phone calls. We did have all of our agents for about 3 weeks before the event called all of our Mets to make that personal touch for Q1. They called all of their databases and our past clients and invited them and told them about the event that we were having.
Now, were your agents / people who are going to answer the phone during the Reverse 100, did they practice this conversation?
Yes. We scripted this for like the whole week before, going through, I mean, we, you know, ring and go through the whole script, you know, handling objections and all the things. And another thing to get my agents to sit down and call them, I said, hey guys, I'm sending out this text message next week through command saying like, hey, you should have, you know, received a phone call from your agent. Here's the link for more information. So it held the agents accountable to call their people. And I hate kind of doing that because I actually had to call some of my database too because they're about to get that. And anyways, it makes the agents actually call their people.
So you set expectations, you scripted and you role played, you put out your marketing plan. What'd you guys do next?
Set a time, or I found the time from somebody else's event, but I think it was only from like 11 to 2. It's like, well, we're going to do 11 to 3, you know, for those hours. All got in the room, you know, made sure we all had phones set up that morning, scripted and role played that morning, took care of our business. And then the event started. I went and got lunch for everybody that was in the office and we had a blast. Like some of us, we all stayed on Zoom to kind of like help point, like when the phone was ringing, like thumbs up, we got it, you know, and just, you know, we kept chat going in Zoom and hey, just got a referral. And I just kind of maintained and watched the entries coming in and kind of watched social media as well, making sure nobody had questions. So just kind of like all hands on deck. The team shut down for those hours to help out.
We got a question in chat, Hannah. How many weeks did this take from beginning to end?
Probably, I mean, I started planning it about 4 weeks out. Not for me, not enough time. I stressed about it the whole time. Wish I did like a whole save the date rollout like we do for our other big events. Like 6 weeks out, a save the date postcard goes out. No hard mail went out, only text message, phone calls, and emails. So going forward, I would do for Mother's Day, I've got to get on that to get a postcard out, you know, for a Mother's Day giveaway. More details coming soon. You know, here's your ways to enter. Follow us here to get more information.
I have another question for you. What phone system handles this bulk of inbound calls?
So we're still very old school with 10 of us on the team. We have 2 Google Voice numbers and there's 5 of us that have 1 Google Voice number. The other ones have another one. I logged in 3 other girls to our team Google Voice so they could help answer calls just for that day. So nothing fancy.
What questions do you have for Hannah? If you're doing events and or reverse 100s, if any of the things that you do that require contact with the database don't generate 2.5 contacts to 1 referral, what would you like to know from Hannah?
I mean, it's just a bunch of touches. That's where I was like, I feel like I'm overdoing it. And if they want to unsubscribe, they did, but not many people did. And I was just like, hey, we're giving away a really nice $1,200 gift. You know, people loved hearing from us and people still call. And we kind of like, I was looking at the phone calls that we had. It's like our core VIP top clients that actually did call. We've got probably like 100, 150 of them. And like it's the same people that come to every single client event. They're the ones that refer us. Those are the ones that showed back up again and made the phone calls. So, but make sure you touch them on Facebook and like friend them, you know, on your personal accounts, or at least your Rainmaker's personal account.
Anyone have questions for her about, you know, getting the agents to actually do the calls or to have the call day or any of her logistics or anything like that? Limiting beliefs running around in your head, like my team would never do this or anything like that going on?
I definitely have some limiting beliefs. I feel like our team never jumps on board with these things. And I'm kind of wondering, like,
get some money and dangle it out in front of them and be like, hey, if we get this many referrals, this many things, like
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We set up a contest this month. We wanted to get 30 appointments in 30 days. And so we had like all of these envelopes, and in 3 of them had $50 gift cards to wherever you want. Just tell me where you want your gift card. Didn't motivate them. So money doesn't seem to help. Yeah, our agents are not competitive. However, I was wondering, like, how did you decide who gets the referrals that came in?
So the next morning we did go through the spreadsheet and be like, oh, that's my sister that called. She gave a referral. I will, you know, I'll take her. So we did pair it to, oh, that's one of my Mets. If they gave a referral, then that goes with that agent. And there's some that like 3 agents that had a lot of people that called in. Well, they're very active on social media. They blew it up. They tagged probably 100 of their friends. They invited them. So then there's a few that got hardly any. Well, sorry, you're not going to get those referrals if they're not from your Met database. So that's how I thought those the most fair to do that. Then we had a few complete random people, and depending on the area of town, you know, whatnot is who I paired those with. But making sure they're responsible enough to call the people that gave referrals and thank the people that, you know, called in to, you know, hey, thanks for calling in for this thing. That's the next work in progress.
If anyone has tips for Hannah on that, give them to her now.
Yeah. So kind of like what Elizabeth said, like having the participation of calling, you know, they're just busy with the now business. I'm like, hey, how about you make these phone calls to this future business? And here's a bunch of listing appointments sitting right in front of you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So my case is I'm the new Rainmaker in a team, and I received 5,000 database that I haven't touched yet. But what I found is the current clients are all of them like luxury clients. So when I think in this reversible plan, my limited create how do you say this creencia limitante, my limiting
Belief.
Yes, is that how can I make this interesting to luxury clients? Because what I found in the past, the baton with my agents is that they're too busy. They are like people with restaurants, big business. So I don't know how to start a reversible with this kind of clients.
For context, she's in a second home luxury market. So
yes, our market is like investment or vacational in Mazatlan, Mexico. So these clients are from Canada or USA or they don't even live here in Mazatlan. So I have this pressure to start touching this database, but I can't even imagine a strategy to make this interesting for them and to give me referrals through this plan.
what do you guys
So
got?
I don't know if somebody have an idea.
Yeah, they do.
You're in a luxury market too.
Yeah, Janet, that's true. Janet's all luxury market.
I mean, I know they've done like the happy hour, nice luxury open houses, or that's what I see on TV because we're not in a luxury market. But I know like some of our, I don't know, maybe like a staging consultation from a tip top designer. possibly. I don't know, but
They're not physically in the same location though.
I would say it doesn't matter how luxury you are, people want free stuff.
That's what I think.
However,
I think we're going to try this. We haven't done it yet, but I could use any tips to bump it up to the luxury level if there's some other luxury level type tips.
I would say, like, I don't know if there's any like unique foods or something that come from where you're at that you could like mail to them, like a pack, like, I don't know. I see all of these ads on Facebook for like you open a box and it's like food from a country or something like that. Like, and probably not prepackaged stuff. However, if there's something like a restaurant that will deliver or like fly food somewhere in the US, like whoever wins this gets, you know, go to the airport and pick up a, you know, dinner for 4, you know, that was just flown in or something like that.
Okay.
or like fancy cheese and wine. I mean, we used to order like grapefruits from somewhere. They were packaged like beautifully and they were delicious.
Hmm.
But I mean, like
You've
cheese
got
and
that
wine.
connection.
You what?
I love that. No, I was just saying, Alejandro, you've got that connection whose like whole thing is like selling fruits to people in America. So
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Oh yes, I know the my prospect for director of operations sells mango through United States market. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you.
I like that too, because it's sort of like it's giving them a taste of the experience that you're trying to sell them on. And so it's more
Mhm.
exciting because it's hyper local and unique and it's a lifestyle piece. It's sort of giving them a piece of what that lifestyle would be. And you can, you know, message around that or brand around that with the, you know, stuff, your messaging inside of that.
Yes, Caroline, actually, thank you, Megan, for thinking of this person that I actually met, because I haven't thought that about it. And what I have always think is that a luxury person is not seeking to have a bottle of wine, because I mean, they already have it. But this kind of the mango stuff or something about Mexico, it could be like tequila or something like that. More about the market. Yes. Thank you. It's a good idea.
yeah, it's a great idea, Caroline. Like that lifestyle thing, even if it's not expensive. It's great.
Did y'all hear? It was on, I think it might have been Monday or last week. It was last week. Gary came on and did a luxury interview with like 3 top agents in luxury markets. Did y'all get that email? It was like an hour later. I got an email that morning. I think it was Monday. And it was a fantastic like 2-hour interview with 3 luxury agents in the US. And I hopped on it. I don't know how I got it, but it's great. But I took extensive notes.
Put the link in our Facebook group.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I'll download it. It's good. Took a bunch of screenshots, but just being like the concierge service, you know, for those luxury and being, you know, a value, which was really good.
Thank you very much.
What else are you guys doing to get database conversion?
Well, I was actually going to ask, how often are you guys reviewing your campaigns, like within your database? Like, I don't know if you guys use Boomtown or not, but how frequently do you guys go in and make those updates to your Smart Drip plans?
Well, I'm new, but it appears that nobody's done that for years because we're cleaning the whole thing up and getting it in shape. So that's all I know.
Yeah, same here. I don't know when they were made, but they've still been going and I feel like they needed updating. But I'm just curious if people do that regularly to keep things current, you know, especially with low inventory. These campaigns are from, you know, 2 years ago. It doesn't really apply as much now.
I look at mine monthly. All buyer, seller, met campaigns. Like, if we're not getting any return or the follow-up plans, and like our Q1 review was today, and I just kind of roundtabled it with our agents and be like, are they working? Do you like the plans? Because I put the scripts, call scripts and text scripts in every single touch. So they don't have to think what to say. I already came up with the verbiage. And they're like, yeah, they're working, you know, open house, just one for every source of business.
And that's in Command. It's all housed in Command as a smart plan or smart plans.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you guys can.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Oh, sorry. You can hear me now. Okay, good. I was gonna say I use Boomtown. I don't know, Sarah, if you use Boomtown too. It's probably why you were mentioning it. But I'm looking at it every time I get a notification to do something in there. Like I know for our closing drip campaigns for a year after. One thing I realized the other day is I was like, these only apply to people who bought a house, but we have a bunch of people who buy land. And so then I went and I made a new drip campaign that was pretty much the same, but was more like, congrats on your land purchase. So it felt more personal when we were sending it to them. So it's just little things like every time I'm doing stuff, I'm like, is there something I need to modify? I would say like I'm always looking at it, but I probably do a deeper dive twice a year into them.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, our message should be matching the market, right? And the moment that we're in based on where you're at, right? So when looking at your business, depending on those ratios, one of the things is how many leads are we receiving from that referrals, right? Depending on where it's going, if it's going to your haven't met or met. The next part of that to look at is then what market are we in and where are we at relative to that? So a lot of us are heavy in buyers right now, right? With a lower listing inventory. So has our message to the database changed? Because if not, that's going to affect your conversion rate, right? Because we're still going to be, if it's still going to buyers heavy that way, and that's the messaging, then we're going to have a lower conversion rate. And as we know with inventory in most areas, that can present a different challenge. So looking at it from that perspective and measuring, I think would cause you at least once a quarter reviewing the results minimum, right? And looking at where are we at, how do we do, what do we need to change?
We actually removed a lot of the content from our smart plans, and now it's more just prompting for the tasks to be completed, because that allows for more personalization. And I mean, people are smart. They know they can tell when it's like an automated text or an automated email. And so when it's to their own sphere, we want our agents to come across much more personal. So I think by removing that, it actually kind of allows us to tailor it more to the market of the moment. And then whenever we have monthly call days, our Rainmaker puts together like a script for people to use when they call their sphere. And so that's always, tailored to what's going on.
So one of the reasons this topic came up was because Michael asked a question and he's not on the call today. He asked what touches were people doing and where they were finding the most success. So maybe the first part of that question is what touches are people doing would be a great place to start.
I can tell you what touches we're telling our agents to do. I can't necessarily tell you which ones they're following through with. However, we have a smart plan that we've put together that actually has every met being touched every I think 15 to 17 days. And it's a mix of obviously phone calls at least once a quarter, texts, private messages on Facebook, handwritten cards, stuff like that, just kind of trying to mix it up and do a variety.
So I hired the best marketer ever. Just want to put that out there. She can't even hear me saying this, but she has a goal for every kind of touch that she has. And it changes every week. So 2 weeks ago, it was to get as many people signed up for our Easter egg hunt that's coming this weekend. And then this week, it was to just get as many opens of the email as possible to remind people about the Easter egg hunt, because most of them are signed up. And so every time that she has any sort of touch, there's always a goal tied to it. Sometimes it's hard to figure out how to quantify some of this. So it's really hard sometimes to figure out if she's winning or losing, but she always has a goal and an objective with everything that she does. And I took that even to my sphere, and called my sphere of influence to invite them all to the Easter egg hunt, but I set a goal of how many people I was going to talk to. That was my big thing. And so, and I was able to talk to that many people, and I just stopped calling at that point. And I realized I should make more phone calls because that was my best touch. No one responds to my emails. My mass texts seem to get lost, but I had great conversations. And so just, I think if you have a goal, every touch can be great, but obviously like the higher up that conversation pyramid kind of idea, the more face-to-face or phone conversations you can have, the better off you are.
Yeah. How many of you here, show of hands, read newsletters?
I read ours before we send it.
I got a lot of, and the reason I bring that up is if you're hearing this and you haven't got started, I'm telling you, get started, right? Like content, it's not as important as you think. You should, and the message should, but it's really about the consistency, because the myth is that we send this out and someone should call us and be like, hey, Paula, awesome, I read your newsletter and now I would like to sell my home. And that's not the case, right? The idea of that is that you want to receive communication from Paula consistently and her real estate team, so that when I decide I want to purchase a home, I see Paula's name in my inbox text, or I remember that, hey, she just called me last week. And it's backhanded, right? Because it's like, yes, we want good content. So I'm not telling you to like to purposely just put out poor content or anything you're doing. But if you haven't got started, get started, because it's about the consistency, right? It's about the consistency, because for most of us, we don't read newsletters unless it pertains to something we're interested in. And that's a trigger that happens well before we ever open our email.
Great
right?
reminder.
What was that, Megan?
Such a good reminder. Great.
Well, I don't know if I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, I don't know if it's a limiting believing, but I actually I don't like newsletter. I unsubscribe on all newsletter that I have, even if they are from agents, because my email is like popping up. So I really feel like this reverse bold strategy or something like make the direct contact with the person is more effective than just sending emails, because everybody is sending emails. I mean, in real estate, in supermarkets, in clothes stores, everybody's sending emails. So how can you be effective on that? I don't find it effective, actually.
I don't think any of us disagree with you that a phone conversation is going to always have the highest conversion rate. Always.
Yeah. Let's talk about data, if we could, with permission, since we're data people. So I collect all this data from my clients. So if you're in my roster, I'm like constantly pestering you with questions, and then I actually write that down in a massive like data collection place and keep the data. So the one-to-one conversation, so the reverse 100s, the quarterly calls, events, that's where you get 7 to 14% of database turnover comes from the phone call. 7 to 14%. So if you are not getting 17 to 14%, my questions naturally go to like, how often are we getting voice to voice? What do you do when you get voice to voice? So those are my 2 questions. Now, hopefully you heard the strategy when you get voice to voice from all the research. Again, I ask you these questions and I write it down that I've collected from my clients. There's 3 things you have to do when you get voice to voice. You have to set an intention. You remember Hannah? Like she knew what she wanted out of this situation. You have to script and role play. If you don't script and role play, whoever's going to answer that phone, they could talk to 200 people and get 0 referrals. They don't even know what they're trying to do. So set an intention, script and role play, gamify it. It has to be fun. Most agents, sorry Liz, not yours, are competitive and they like the gamification. But when you have that all day call day, you know, they come in, it's playing music. You've got a game you play before they get on the phones. At 11 o'clock, you break them. Then you know, send them on a scavenger hunt around the building, and then you have a lunch prepared. Like, it has to be fun and it has to be gamified, which if you think of game theory, there has to be rules. They have to be able to win. They don't have to win against each other. It could just be winning against the intention you set, but they have to be able to win. There have to be rules. That's how you get to 2.5 to 1 versus 200 to 0. But 7 to 14% comes from the 1 to 1. Max 5% comes from the marketing. You gotta have the best marketing, and I'm talking about spending a ton of money doing giveaways, whatever. But max 5% is responsible for database turnover, comes from the marketing. And we don't want to forget that 5%, because that's 5% we all could use. But when I say marketing, that's like the email newsletters, the hard mail, like the piece of actual post, and then what you're doing to like retarget them or whatever on social media. Just 5%. It's not a waste, but it is not 7 to 14%. So 80% of your energy needs to go to getting the team into one-to-one situations with the database. 20% of your energy needs to go to marketing.
Can I just say on the newsletter too, I'm the same way. Like, I unsubscribe from everything just because there's too much in my inbox. Our newsletter gets opened with in the 30s and the 40%, like, which is pretty good when it comes to a newsletter. Even our Rainmaker, who his newsletter went out to everybody, like all of the leads too, like all of our past leads got his newsletter, 25% open rate. So like more people are opening it than you realize.
Hey, Elizabeth, will you put me on your campaign? I want to see it.
Sure.
Okay.
We just started doing a newsletter, so I don't have a lot of data to speak to, which for what it's worth, but we've been getting a lot of like anecdotal feedback because we are preparing for a shred event. So the agents have been calling everybody and talking to everybody, and they bring up the newsletter. I actually am going to go check the open rate right now. But one thing that we've done is created a lot of content that's like real estate adjacent and community focused, and it lives somewhere else, or it becomes a little baby social campaign, or it's like, you know, we did Black History Month, Women's History Month, we're going to do Earth Day, you know, our shred event ties into the Earth Day theme. So these themes are like really, it gives the agent something to talk about. We have a little bit of a value deficiency, which I've talked to Megan about. Like, our agents are hesitant to be direct with clients and asking for referrals, but they love to talk about events and cool things going on. So the email newsletter creates content that goes both on social and for them to talk about with the client. So that's been really, it's gotten them into the voice-to-voice conversations that they might have otherwise been hesitant, which shocks me about agents. You think they'd like to talk, but it helps. And it ties all it together with everything else. I'm really proud of it. So if you want to see it, I can send it.
I love that, you guys. You guys just go get on each other's campaigns. I love this. Just like exchange stuff. Put it in the Facebook group, or yeah, like, here, I want on your campaign, like, here's my information, put me on your campaigns or whatever. Love this.
Yeah, our agent referrals is second or third on our source of business. So I've redone all of our campaigns and marketing. So phone number, email, and addresses. I'll send y'all stuff.
Liz, one thing, it just in reflecting when you were talking about your contests too, look at length of time, because sometimes shorter and more potent can make a difference than a longer month long. And look at different ways people can win as opposed to a measure of just appointments, because if they're struggling to get appointments or setting it there, then they could have already opted out in their own mind from the contest before it even got started.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. Like on our call these days, having some sort of competition for like even just contacts made, for like every 10 contacts made, get whatever it is, like, and any appointment set or referrals received, like any of the like things that we're going for. So yeah, thanks for the tip.
And then another thing, which I will do next time for the Mother's Day gift, since I'm really going to be including a bunch of more of our sponsors involved, make sure that they share it out to their sphere and they advertise the giveaway as well. We had a dermatology clinic last year that they went to multiple boutiques and makeup stores and all these other places to help donate a Yeti cooler, a little local spot. And then they blasted it all out, on an event together. And hey, like and share and follow all of these accounts to be entered to win. More people you follow, the more entries you get. So have them share it out to their social media, at least, personal pages as well. So.
All right. Next week, dive into the 12-week year. Everyone go through some best practices. Getting a lot of head nods. All right, we go through some best practices, some fail forward moments. Those are always fun if you want to share those things we can learn from, and we'll go into that.
Janet's dancing with me. It's like the best thing that's happened to me all day. Now I love it because like many of you are on the 12-week year to the quarter. So hopefully if that's you, like you're having that switch over now. Some of you are not. And so don't feel pressure to like readjust, but just like, how do you get into the second one, right? Ryan's not on our call today, but she calls it like a first pancake or a mulligan. Like maybe you had a first pancake of a 12-week year and now you've learned some things, and like share it with us. What did you learn? How can we all improve from that? And then let's get better at setting up our next one.
Oh, I like that. First pancake. I get it. I have lots of questions, so I'll bring them next week.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, gang. And then wait. For April, in case you've not started your book yet, our book is Cash Flow Quadrants, not Company. So check that out. It is the follow-up to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So like a Rich Dad, Poor Dad 2.0.
Megan, would you please write it on the chat box, please?
Oh, yeah. That's our book, Alejandra.
Thank you.
Yeah, so check that out and start your Amazon order for that so you have time to read it. It's another kind of a thick one. Okay, gang.
All right, everybody.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank